Hey there, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Devin Hoffman. This here is Tom Armitage, and like you can see on the screen from our presentation here, we are going to talk to you about how to tap a keg, the steps, the tricks, the motions, the different styles, and I'm just kidding. I'm sure you've done more than enough of that and you understand that. But what we're going to talk to you about is, from a digital standpoint, how to tap the right keg, which is to say how to find out what's going to work for you, which is very similar, digital marketing is, to beer. And as you can see here from this chart, I'm sure you've seen it before, you live it, you love it. It's one of my favorites because it shows the true complexity that beer has. You know that it breaks out into ales and lagers, but then how does it break down from there? You've probably heard before someone's like, I really only like ales. And you're like, what do you mean? What style, what type? Pale ales, IPAs is a double IPA. To say you like double IPAs is not as to say you only like ales. Well, that kind of complexity is similar in digital marketing. And so we created the chart that you see here, which shows the many different types of digital marketing. Similarly, there's main categories like social media, your website, Google, but then those go down into more specific categories: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So to say you do organic posts on Facebook is not to say you do social media. And what we want to do is take a look at some of the two of the big players in digital marketing, which is going to be social media and Google, and kind of show you those built out areas of effort that you can do. So what we want to do to start is I'm going to hand it off to the man, the myth, the legend right here, Tom, who knows everything there is to know about social media, who can actually walk you through the things to keep in mind.
If we compare marketing from 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, even 10 years ago until today, the biggest thing that has made a difference in changing the world of marketing is social media. And you guys have seen social media, you guys have read about social media, you guys live social media every day because it's so connected to our personal lives. But we need to have a deeper appreciation for it, of how we can use social media from a business standpoint, for business communication, and how we can use it to actually generate awareness, engagement among customers, and ultimately drive sales. So when we talk social media, it's really important to identify a few things as it relates to social so you can do it right and you can really manage your time and your resources efficiently. Having a plan in place, selecting the right platforms, and using the right tools to accomplish your goals. So let's jump into a plan and let's look at how we can actually put a plan in place to actually get the job done and do it right. So what we've done is we've identified 5 key areas within social media to use as recommendations to help you do social media the right way. And really at the focal point of social media is this keyword. You guys have all seen it, you guys have heard it a million times, and that's engagement. Because what really separates social media from traditional communication, from traditional marketing and traditional media, is two-way communication. It's that interaction that takes place between the business, between the brand, and its customers. It's not like billboards. It's not like traditional TV commercials or radio spots where we're shouting from the rooftops, buy our product, right? In social media, we have the ability as brands, as businesses, to directly interact with our fans, with our audience, and vice versa, they can interact with us. And a lot of times, they're the ones taking the initiative. They're making the first step to engage with us and to actually write, respond, and comment and ask us questions. And that changes the whole world. That changes the whole dynamic of social media compared to the old way of doing things. So that's why we put engagement right at the center. And what you need to do is you need to have the right staff in place, you need to have the right people in place, and the right platforms and the right channels and the right tools in place to be able to receive these messages and to accurately, quickly, and efficiently respond to your customers, to give them the right information and to give them that information quickly to fulfill their needs and to hopefully drive that business through your doors. Let's go around the clock here and let's look at the other 4 areas. We start at 12 o'clock, and that's paid ads. Mark Zuckerberg is a very, very smart man. When he built Facebook years ago, he first really wanted to build a large mass following before he actually flipped the switch and decided to monetize it heavily. So what he's done is, now that he's eclipsed 1 billion users, is he's turned this into a money-making machine. And because of it, it's made it pretty difficult to succeed on Facebook or on social media in general without putting any advertising dollars behind it. So let's say you have 100 fans. You've earned these fans organically. It's customers that you've accrued over the years, and they follow your page. If you put out a post on Facebook without any money, chances are 5 to 10% of those people will see that post. 5 to 10 people, if we're using 100 fans as the example. Only 5 to 10 of them. If we put advertising dollars behind it, we're going to be able to have more than 100 people see it. But not only more than 100 people, but it's going to be the right people, because the ability to target is what really makes social media, in my opinion, far better than a lot of the traditional media and the traditional platforms that have existed in years past. Because we can target the right people, we can target the right people in the right place, and even at the right time to be able to see our messages, to be able to see our content, to be able to see our posts. And that's going to be a much more meaningful spend of those advertising dollars, because we can say the right thing to the right people and turn them into fans and turn them into customers. So you got to set aside the right budget, and you have to be conducting advertising on a regular basis and in the right capacity with the right targeting parameters. Let's go to 3 o'clock now. Consistency. What I've seen a lot of brands and a lot of companies do is they might take some good photos. They might, go to one of their events that they're holding at their breweries, and they'll have a couple really good days of social media presence. Really great photos, a nice video, and then all of a sudden they fall off the radar and there's nothing for a few weeks, maybe a month. Then they come back heavily. You got a summer concert series and again, some really great content. Then they fall off the map and another month or two goes by. Really a lack of inconsistency. And it doesn't do any favors for your fans, for your customers to be able to have these like random spurs of activity, because they're not seeing your brand, they're not keeping your brand top of mind. You want to be able to map out your plan, build a content calendar, have your events, have your promotions, have your seasonal products exist in that calendar, so you can guarantee when posts, when materials, when ads are going to run, when they're going to come out, and you can make sure that you're consistent with all of your efforts throughout the course of the entire calendar year. Let's go to influencers down at 6 o'clock. This is one of the biggest changes in social media in recent years. And we've all seen this because we all use social media from a personal standpoint. And we see people giving brands and products plugs on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. But there's a lot of value that can be seen in influencer marketing. What you want to do is you want to find influencers that have devoted followers. And I'm not talking like the Kim Kardashians of the world with millions of followers. You want to find people in your community, the movers and shakers that are really devoted to your community, to the local area, to their beer enthusiasts that have strong devoted followers. And what you can do is you can exchange products, or you can even do pay for play and give them $25, $50, $100, whatever that agreement that is that you strike with those influencers, and they can do product reviews. They can come and check out your tap room. They can do reviews of your facility, of your products, and they can do posts on your behalf, and it comes across much more natural, much more organic, and you're going to get inside the feeds of all of those followers of those influencers. So influencer marketing, it's a big deal. Document who these influencers are in your area and what the costs are to build relationships and to have them, cover and review and give product placement of your products. Let's go to 9 o'clock here, content. This is the most laborious and sometimes the most difficult part of social media. It's building the content. This is your photographs, your video production, writing your captions, setting up your events, conducting your live streams. And you really need to respect how much time and attention the content production takes, because this is really going to be the largest time suck across your efforts. So you need to map out who it is that's responsible for it, what resources you might need as far as talent, tools, technology, equipment like video equipment or photo equipment, and you need to document that all ahead of time and lay it across your resources and identify who it is that's going to be doing it, and then take into consideration that plan that you've built, that content calendar of when content needs to actually be produced, and really start going to work and build that content and make sure it's always of the highest quality, and that's going to make the biggest difference in terms of generating awareness, engagement, and conversions on those posts. So after you have your plan in place, obviously you want to take into consideration what platforms you should be spending the most time on. So Devin and I, in our company, we conducted a survey across a variety and a handful of breweries throughout the Northeast. And we asked them several questions in that survey, but one of them was, where are you spending the most time in terms of your social media attention? And you can see on the screen the rankings of highest priority, most popular platforms that breweries are spending time on, down to the lowest. So if you have to prioritize, obviously you don't have an unlimited amount of time, and you don't have an unlimited amount of resources and money to spend on this and to spend on digital marketing or social media marketing. So you need to prioritize your efforts. So what you're seeing on the screen is the priorities that we would recommend. And that's because with Facebook and Instagram, that's where your target audience is going to be. We know the target audience and who exists and who the users are on Facebook and Instagram, and we have a pretty good understanding of who your target audiences would be as breweries, because we are a part of your target audience. So we know that they are on Facebook and Instagram, and the ability to target and conduct advertising efforts on those two channels, they're both owned by Facebook, so advertising is done right out of the same tool. It's really stellar. It's a really great experience, a really great user experience, to be able to build ads and manage ads out of those platforms, and that's really where you want to be spending the most time. That's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. And Facebook is so versatile with live streams and event management. That's going to be where you should be spending the most time. If you do have the time and you do have the resources, you can kind of go down the list and invest more time and resources into additional platforms. Untapped, obviously, it's specific to your industry, to the beer industry, the brewery industry, and you can see a lot of value there. Twitter, a really great customer service tool, real-time communication with people that have questions that they're directing to your brand. You want to be really swift on responding and replying to questions coming in through DM or through your @ replies. And then, of course, if you're doing a lot of video production, definitely give some time to YouTube as well. And then lastly, we always love to mention and make some recommendations around the tools that you might want to be using in order to help conduct the content creation and conduct your social media efforts. So on the left-hand side, I have Canva listed here. This is a really great inexpensive tool for you to do image editing and graphic design work. If you have Photoshop, great. It's one of the best tools out there for photo and image editing and graphic design. But if you're a little bit of a novice, if you need something that's a little bit more quick and dirty, if you want something that's really inexpensive, Canva is your best bet out there. You can buy stock photography, you can do image edits, you can do it's a really versatile tool, and you can save out images. It has all of the preset dimensions built inside of the tool itself, so you never have to do research on what the best format is for a Twitter post, for an Instagram post, for a Facebook post, for a Facebook ad, for a Facebook cover photo. It's all built right in the system. Canva, highly recommend. Well, we use it quite a bit at SiteSeeker, and I usually recommend it to a lot of partners, friends, and family as well. You absolutely will need a social media management tool. If you're conducting social media the right way, and you're building out a content calendar, and you're building it out and mapping out what your content is going to be a month in advance, 3 months in advance, even 12 months in advance, you need to be scheduling out those posts ahead of time. In doing so, you can bulk your efforts, you can be more efficient with your time, and you can plan out a schedule of when your posts are going out. You can put it out when your fans are going to most likely engage upon that content. And using a tool like Sprout Social is going to be in your best interest. It also gathers and it aggregates all of the comments coming in across your platforms, so you only need to sign into one interface, and you can be able to reply to everything that's coming in to one central location. It also has built-in reporting, so you can do analysis and measure results, and you can make sure that you can double down on what's working and get rid of the efforts that may not be working as well. Then lastly, video is still the hottest thing in marketing and digital marketing today. You should be devoting time and attention and resources to video production. Now, you got to invest in a little bit of equipment here, so that way you can do video the right way and have it be high quality results. But you'll need some resources put towards video production equipment and video production software. So we usually recommend Adobe Premiere. It's a really great tool. It takes a little bit of time to get the hang of it, but if you can understand the basics of the tool, you can do some really great work and produce some really good videos that you can put out across your social media efforts on your website, and it can really go a long way, because what we've seen and what the industry stats have proven is that more users are engaging upon video content than any other content type that exists out there in the social media world. So that's my summary on social media. if we have to prioritize and categorize, all the many things in digital marketing, we're saying that devoting time to social media, doing it the right way, having a plan in place is going to be that first recommendation. And of course, that second recommendation is everything that Google and Google's products bring about. And that's what Devin is going to talk to you about for the next 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Tom. So I guess by a show of hands, who uses Google? Well, you just raised your hand at a computer screen, but that's okay, because I'm right there with you, because I use Google every single day. And specifically, I use Google every single day to find breweries. That is my hobby, that is my interest, that's what I like to do. So if I'm going on a trip, if I'm visiting someone or planning a trip, I like to try and find some breweries either near where I'm going or that are along the way that I can visit. And there's a number of tools within Google, some that are free to you or some that are initially free, that you can take advantage of to really show people not just your brand and your product, but your atmosphere, your story, and all the information that they need to make that trip like I like to do. So there's three things that I do want to look at, and that's going to kick off with Google My Business and then get into ads and analytics. But Google My Business is really the first look that they get of you when they're searching on Google. And there's a number of ways that can happen. They can either search for you by name, or they can search for a certain location. Breweries in New York, breweries in Ohio, breweries in a specific city, breweries near me, and it uses my location settings to find on a map what's nearby. So here you have a screenshot of a specific search of near me, and it's showing which ones are nearby. And there's an algorithm to how those results are going to show up. It can be reviews, it can be opens, it can be based on geolocation of how many people have visited that. But when someone selects one of them, it breaks out a little bit of their Google My Business profile. And in there is not just your name and the top level information like your hours, your website, your phone number, but you can actually break it down into events and even see popular times. So you know based on when people are there, if it's a time when it's really busy or a lot of experiences could be going on, or if it's when they first open, there's not a lot of people there. But what you can do is claim your Google My Business listing, which is important, but what's just as important is updating it, looking at it, controlling it. So I'll go to breweries and I'll visit them and I'll take pictures, and because my location settings are on, and this is the same for Tom, we're known as Google Local Guides. And so the minute I take a picture, Google will ask me if I want to post it to the Google account for the place that I'm at. And I usually do. Now, my pictures are pretty good, so that's okay. But in the setting of someone who might have gone and had a really good burger and half of the beer, and then they take a picture of it because they want to showcase it, and then they got their friend making a weird face in the background, great experience, not a great picture. That might be the premier picture in your Google listing. You don't want that. It's nice that they enjoyed it, it's nice that they had that experience, but you want to make sure your content that you've created is what is being showcased. And you can go in and you can add new imagery. You can do interior shots so people know what to expect, and just more things that kind of go towards the way of kind of creating what your environment is like. One of the most important things, in my opinion, is setting up what I'll call specialty hours, or just making sure you have the correct hours. A lot of people use Google as a tool to see if someone is open. This can be in Google Maps or just in a Google search. This is what I use if I'm going to visit someone. Oh, do I have time to get there, or are they closed? Well, I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation with a place that has shortened their hours for one reason or another, but is actually going to be open past it. I'll give you a specific example. I talked to a brewery in New York City once, and their Google listings said they were open from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day. And they were actually open till 2 a.m. So I said, why are you cutting the back end of 6 hours off? They said, well, sometimes we'll close at 10 or 11 or 12 if it's dead. And I was like, well, it's dead because people are going on Google and seeing that you're closed and not making an effort. But on the other side of that, you can put in specialty hours like on holidays. And the big three that I usually see is Memorial Day, Labor Day, or 4th of July. These are big tourist holidays because a lot of people are traveling. Now, on one side, you might be closed when you're normally open, or on the flip side, you might be open when you're normally closed for those. I have a specific example from this past Labor Day, when I went to visit 5 breweries, and when I went to them, 3 who said they were open were actually closed, but it worked out for me because one that said it was closed was actually open, so I got to visit another in there. But you can actually go in and map out all of your upcoming specialty dates. Maybe you've got maintenance or construction going on, and you can set these dates, and when they happen, it'll change your hours for that day, and then it'll change it right back. Because what you want to keep in mind is that customer service. But what's also very important is you have the ability to answer people's questions. And so the example here on the screen, someone asked a question of, do they have a pinball machine? It's a kind of specific question, but someone did answer, yes, I had fun playing it. Again, as local guides, when I visit a place, if someone asks a question, I actually get a notification to my phone and says, someone has a question about this place, can you answer it? Or it'll ask us, is there a handicap entrance? Are kids allowed? Is there food? And it just kind of all goes into creating that listing within Google. Again, all of these things are great that user-generated content can be used, but you also want to make sure that it's the correct information and that you're adding your content as well. And so the question is, from there within Google, well, what else can you do? And this is when we get more onto the search side, but you also can do advertising, paid advertising in Google. Now there's 3 main areas of Google advertising. You're going to have search, you're going to have display, and you're going to have video. Search, namely, is what's going to show up when you search inside of Google. You start off with those paid ads at the top, and then you get into the organic ads. Display is actually imagery. It's got your logo, it's got your branding. It's showing up on other sites within the Google network. And then video is, of course, your video ads that you put together. That could be ones you did for social that you're just utilizing in the Google space. But when it comes to keeping in mind paid advertising, there are, just like social media, things you want to keep in mind. And so starting in the middle right here on this chart, the main one is geography. So if you are located, within your state, do you want to target just your state? Well, in one case, yes. You want to get people who are looking for a brewery within your state. You don't want it to be too far of a traveling. But you also have to think, what about the people who are traveling? The people in my state know me. I want to talk to the people outside. So you can do geographic targeting based on where you see a lot of traffic coming in from. But then that also kind of goes into demographic. And so people like Tom and I, just based on our history of searching within Google, it knows that we are beer-loving audiences. So if you're going after people who enjoy this industry, this topic, and that's your market, you're not worrying about people who do not care about what you make but are located in a specific area, but instead you're finding the people who are interested in it, and it could be what prompts them to take that trip. From there, as we go to the right, you do see contextual, and now that is going even more so if you've got a display ad where we're talking about the topic of the information surrounding it. So if there's a news article about hops or yeast or the brewing industry in general, they know that people like Tom and I and all of you that are watching this are interested in that, so that's when they're going to show one of those ads. And so you can build out that type of targeting for your advertisement. Remarketing is the great one. That's where people start to get freaked out with digital and think there's someone in their mind. But you can target that when someone comes to your website, maybe the website in general or maybe a specific page, they're going to start to see your ads. So they visited your event page, and then they come to, they're looking at ESPN or they're looking at a news site later, and they see an ad for one of your events. And they're like, wow, I don't know how they knew that. I will get the tickets. Something along those lines. But the main one, the runner, the big area we see is going to be keywords, because that's search. Beer, brewery tours, going after that information. The survey Tom mentioned that we had done earlier, when we had done searches for brewery tours in our area here in upstate New York, the majority of, or the only paid ads that came up were for European brewery tours. It was a travel agency. So, and even as I travel, that's what I still see. So no one who offers brewery tours is utilizing a keyword surrounding it. They're actually, it's people trying to get us to leave the country rather than visit breweries here in New York. And so there is those, again, 3 main areas of search, display, and remarketing inside that Google advertising space. And there is, in addition, even more information we could talk about when we get into organic, which is everything that shows up under the ads, but that would be a whole nother video for a whole nother time. So the question is, all right, we've got Google My Business, we've got these paid ads, you've got Facebook ads, you're doing stuff on YouTube, you're getting everything in the right place. How do you know if it's working? You get a report sent to you from Google My Business, you get a report sent to you from Facebook, you can get a report from Google. Am I supposed to pull all these together and look at it? Where can I have all my information in one place? And that's what brings us to Google Analytics, because Google Analytics is that tool. It will track all of the traffic coming to your website based on where it came from, the demographics that it came from. If it was a phone, a computer, or a tablet. If it was a phone, what kind of phone? Are you getting more people with Samsungs or Apple products? You can get all this information, how long they spent on a certain page, and most importantly, you can set goals. What is your goal? Someone clicking to call you or clicking to set up a tour? Or if you do events, maybe it's to buy tickets to an event or reach out to host a private event. You can set these goals, and then you can look back and say, okay, the traffic that came from Facebook provided X number of our goals. Whereas the traffic that came from Instagram didn't do as much, so we know that Facebook's the way we want to look. Or on the other side, maybe you see that you're getting a lot of people to a specific, let's say you do concerts, concert page, but you haven't sold any tickets. So what's happening? Is there an issue with how the page is laid out or the link? You know you're getting people there, or it could be a pricing issue. Google Analytics is a tool that'll show you if it's paid traffic, organic traffic, referral traffic, which is to say it comes from Facebook or YouTube, and give you the ability to create insights on that, which, as data-driven people, is the important thing as you build out your plan for your future approach in your digital marketing. And again, Google Analytics is a tool that is just offered through Google and really just requires you to put a little bit of time building your plan and just setting it all up. And so really that's that look within Google, and as Tom said, within social, the two big players when it comes to digital marketing and digital advertising. What we would love to do is talk more about it and go in a little bit more. If to continue that, I will need a beer. So what I would love to do instead is say, if you have any questions about the things we did talk about or anything beyond that, reach out to us. You know, we've got our information right here on the page you're on, and we're always down to grab a beer or jump on a call, and I'll have a beer on my end and talk a little bit more about it. And so for me, I just wanted to say thanks for the time. And
thanks, everyone. Let us know if you need any help.